do not think there are any public comments that have signed up, so we'll proceed. Under Section 3-305B of the General Provisions article of the Maryland Annotated Code, there are two reasons the board will go into closed session this evening: to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction; any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals; to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice or legal matters. Specifically, the topics for tonight will be 3-305B1, topic including certificated staffing recommendations and interim superintendent contract. 3-305B7, topics include 8th Street property, maintenance buildings, and Pinnacle contract. The reason these topics be discussed in closed session instead of open session is as follows. Personnel topics pursuant to 3-305B1 disclosed above will be considered in closed session rather than open session because they include a discussion of specific employees, which is a confidential employment matter. The legal topics pursuant to 3-305B7 disclosed above will be considered in closed session rather than open session because the board will be receiving specific legal advice from counsel, which is protected by attorney-client privilege. Hearing those indications, are there any objections of the board going into executive session? Hearing none, is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
Second.
So moved by Jason, second by Matthew. All those in favor of going into executive session, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are now in executive session. Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the June 13th, 2023 Board of Education meeting. First thing I need to do is apologize that we're running about 40 minutes late. I do apologize, and I'll take credit for that. I should have started this at 3 o'clock today rather than 4 o'clock, and that way we would have been finished in plenty of time. So, again, my apologies for running so late. Our first order of business will be our opening, our moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by our student board member, Alexis Schaefer. Thank you, Alexis. Okay, our first order of business will be to approve the agenda. I'll take a motion as such.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Matthew, seconded by Jason Van Sickle. Those in favor of the agenda as proposed, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Approval of the consent agenda, motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Matthew,
Second.
seconded by Jason. Those in favor of the consent agenda as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. And the consent agenda is approved. Closed session summaries, Madam Superintendent, along with the announcements.
The Board of Education met in executive session on Tuesday, May 9th, 2023 at 4:04 p.m. under Authority 3-305 of the General Provisions article of the Annotated Code of Maryland to discuss the following items: review of executive session minutes, personnel topics pursuant to 3-305B1, negotiation topics pursuant to 3-305B9, and administrative function topics. Rodney Glotfeldy made a motion to go into executive session, and Jason Van Sickle seconded the motion. Final resolution, motion carried. Yea votes from Rodney Glotfeldy, Josh Heinbaugh, Matthew Paugh, and Jason Van Sickle. Jason Van Sickle made a motion to approve the executive session agenda, and Josh Heinbaugh seconded the motion. Final resolution, motion carried. Yea votes from Rodney Glotfeldy, Josh Heinbaugh, Matthew Paugh, and Jason Van Sickle. The topics discussed in the closed session included the following: April 11th, 2023, executive session minutes. Josh Heinbaugh made a motion to approve the minutes. Rodney Glotfeldy seconded the motion. The final resolution with motion carries with yea votes from Rodney Glotfeldy, Josh Heinbaugh, Matthew Paugh, and Jason Van Sickle. Personnel, student member of the board interviews. The board conducted interviews for the FY 2024 student member of the board. Jason Van Sickle made a motion to appoint Haley Wildison as the student member of the board for the 23-24 school year. Matthew Paugh seconded the motion. Final resolution. Motion carried with yea votes from Rodney, Josh Heinbaugh, Matthew Paul, and Jason Van Sickle. Ms. Allie Newman will serve as the alternate student member of the board. Interim superintendent, the board discussed the interim superintendent decision. The board took action on this topic in the public session. Negotiations, negotiated agreement update. Dr. Jane Wilderson, Director of Human Resources, provided an update on all of the bargaining group agreements. The board took action on approving the ratification of the amended GASA and GCAFT bargaining group agreements in the public session under board business. Administrative function, the board discussed administrative function topics. The board considered these topics but did not take any action on these items. Matthew Paul made a motion to adjourn the executive session, and Jason Van Sickle seconded the motion. The motion carried with yea votes from Rodney Glotfelty, Josh Heinbaugh, Matthew Paul, and Jason Van Sickle. The board adjourned the executive session at 6:10 p.m. Mr. Tom Woods, Board President, Mr. Rodney Glotfelty, Board Vice President, and Board members Mr. Josh Heinbaugh, Dr. Matthew Paul, and Mr. Jason Van Sickle attended the meeting. Ms. Barbara Baker, Superintendent, Mr. Brandon Hoover, Board Attorney, Dr. Nicole Miller, Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Jane Wilderson, Director of Human Resources, Mr. Richard Wislowski, Director of Maintenance, Facilities, Operations, and Transportation, Ms. Karen Brewer, Executive Assistant to the Superintendent, attended all or part of the meeting. Mrs. Candy Moss, Supervisor of English Language Arts and Social Studies, Ms. Haley Wilderson, Northern High School student, Ms. Allie Newman, Southern High School student, attended part of the meeting for the purpose of discussing the FY 23-24 student member of the board. All right, for announcements, tomorrow is a professional day and the teacher's last day. June 20th, the report cards for the fourth quarter will be mailed. June 20 through 23 and 26 through 29, the summer programming for high schools at Garrett College. 9 to 12, with a credit recovery model, students will be permitted to recover one course for credit. June 28th, May Board Service Academy. Boost your effective board governance with stronger board self-evaluations and superintendent evaluations. Virtual training, 9 to 12 p.m. July 4th, all schools and offices will be closed. July 11th, board meeting, boardroom, or other location to be determined. Public session at 6 p.m. July 13th, another May Board Service Academy, the Public Information Act virtual training, 9 to 12. If any board members would like to attend those May trainings, let Mrs. Brewer know. July 17th through the 20th and July 24th through the 27th is summer programming for elementary and middle schools at the following locations: Accident Elementary School, Broadford Elementary School, serving both Broadford and Young Glades, Crellin Elementary School, Friendsville Elementary School, Grantsville Elementary School, Route 40 Elementary School, Swan Meadow School, Northern Middle School, Southern Middle School. 9 p.m. There may be a need to tier the start time due to shared transportation. The GCPS administrative offices and year-round schools will operate on a condensed summer schedule beginning June 19th, 2023, and continuing through August 25th, 2023. Hours of operation will be 7 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Thursday, with facilities closed on Friday. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we do our recognitions today, there are a couple of introductions I'd like to make. The first introduction is Dr. Brenda McCartney. I've asked Dr. McCartney to come tonight. Dr. McCartney will become our new interim superintendent on July 1st. We have some things that we have to, a couple hurdles to jump over at the moment, but we're jumping over those hurdles. But we have full faith that she will take over as our interim superintendent on July 1st for the next year. And we're certainly fortunate to have somebody of her background and her accomplishments as a person that's worked in Garrett County Schools for many, many years. So, Dr. McCartney, would you like to stand and let everybody at least see who you are who may not know her? We also have with us another introduction I'd like to make. We did choose our new student member to the board for our next school year, and we have asked her to come tonight, and her name is Haley Wilderson. She is from Northern High School, and she will be our new student member of the board. Haley, you'd like to stand? And we do have a couple, three recognitions this evening. Certainly, I think all of you know that there are a couple of very important ones this evening for a lot of lifetime of work that they've put in, and some other ones that are maybe young recognitions, but I'm sure they're just as important. So the first one we're going to do is recognition of the North 40 First Lego League team, and I've asked Mr. Heinbaugh to make that presentation.
Garrett County Public Schools First Lego League team, North 40, recently competed at the American Open Invitational First Lego League Robotics Competition. and finished overall as a finalist for the event's top award, known as the Champions Award. The event was held at the Liberty Science Center in Jersey City, New Jersey on May 13th and 14th. 42 teams competed at the Open Invitational. North 40 is composed of 4 Northern Middle School students, 3 8th grade, Jesselyn Simmons, Eden Rankin, Brady Garlitz, 1 7th grade student, Jana Shipley, and coached by Dr. Jennifer Rankin and Northern Middle Science teacher, Miss Lori Burdock. North 40 is one of 16 Garrett County Public School teams that its high school robotics program, GACO, supports in partnership with Garrett County Public Schools. North 40 received an invitation to compete at the American Open Invitational as a result of being a finalist for the same award at the Maryland State First Lego League Championship amongst the top 70 teams in Maryland, which was held at the campus of UMBC in Baltimore last February. North 40 advanced to the Maryland Championship by winning the same award at the Garrett County qualifier earlier in February. So, great job, North 40, and Chuck asked me actually to pass this along. Their sister team, the Tender Defenders from FLL in Parkersburg, also competed internationally at the Razorback Invitational at the University of Arkansas and won first place Core Value Award. And they earned a spot at the Razorback Invitational by winning the Champions Award at the West Virginia State Championship. Mr. Woods, I think your grandson's actually on the team. Is that correct?
He has been on that
Yep,
team
so-
in Parkersburg. And certainly,
So their sister team, as well as North 40, did very well in robotics, as supported by our high school robotics team. It's a very big accomplishment for our robotics in our county, and awesome accomplishments. So congratulations.
our next recognition will be the Charlotte A. Seabolt Scholarship recipient, and I've asked Mr. Glotfelty to make that recognition.
Alexis, congratulations on behalf of the board and the superintendent. All of us here have really enjoyed working with you the last year. And you have been awarded the Charlotte A. Seabold Scholarship as administered through the Garrett County Board of Education. Your total award is going to be $500. Your award is a result of your outstanding academic performance, and I'd just like to say Alexis was the valedictorian at Southern High School, gave a great speech at graduation day, so congratulations on that too. but also your leadership skills and advocacy as a student member of the Board of Education for the 2022 to 23 school year. We hope this scholarship, your education with Garrett County Public Schools, and your experience as a student member of the Board of Education make a lasting impact on your life. The Garrett County Board of Education wishes you much success in your continued education at Washington and Jefferson College and in your professional pursuits. Congratulations, Lex.
Our next recognition of service will go to Reverend Dr. Matthew Paul, who's been a board member since November of 2013 until June of 2023, and I've asked Mr. Van Sickle to make that presentation.
All right, so Matthew's been with us for a while, so this is a little long, so bear with me. Well deserved, but bear with me. Proclamation expressing appreciation to Dr. Matthew Paul for outstanding service to the Garrett County Board of Education. Whereas Dr. Matthew Paul has served as a board member for the Garrett County Board of Education for 9 years. Whereas during his years of board member, he's approved many initiatives that benefited the students and staff of the school system, including a school renovation, partial renovation to all or some schools, important security enhancements to all schools, energy efficiency initiatives at all schools, and necessary upgrades. Whereas he has served as board president 3 times, served on the following Garrett County Public School committees: Curricular Committee, Ethics Panel, and Policy Committee. Whereas he has served on the Maryland Association of Board of Education Budget and Planning Committee, and is the director of the MABE Legal Services Association Committee. Whereas he has served to ensure the decisions of our school programming, properties, and facilities represent our community's values, culture, and circumstances. Whereas, as an extremely diligent, faithful, hard-working school board member, that he looked at the school practices and curriculum and made adjustments that benefited the students. Whereas he collaborated with the superintendent and fellow board members to safely steer the school system through uncertain, unprecedented times during the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, always keeping the health and safety of the students and the employees at the forefront. Whereas he attended multiple school activities and events to support the students and their achievements. Whereas he has worked hard to collaborate with fellow board members, superintendent, school staff, students, and community members. He valued the input of the community members, understanding that involving all of these stakeholders will help the board make better decisions for the school system. So, therefore, we hereby commend Dr. Paul for his years of dedicated service and outstanding public service to the Garrett County Board of Education. I'm going to add to that a little bit, since I've got to sit next to Dr. Paul here. During my time with the Board of Education, he was always someone that I could go to as a new board member, whether it was during the pandemic when we were all meeting virtually, and I was trying to follow along as we were meeting until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, sending him a text asking what the background story was as I was trying to get additional information. So, Dr. Paul, I really appreciate all the help that you provided to me as a new board member whenever I came on board and the guidance you gave me. So, congratulations, and we wish you the best.
Well, I will ask the superintendent and other board members if you have any comments, or anyone that's worked with Dr. Paul over the years, any comments you might have.
I want to echo what Jason said. When I came on the board, Matthew was just a tremendous help to me to get oriented. We served together on the policy committee. He's a perfectionist, believe me. He goes through those policies, and any typo he gets, and so I always appreciated that. I didn't have to read them quite as close as Dr. Paul did. But I've really enjoyed working with him, and I've really enjoyed getting to know him better, and or getting to know him at all. And so, I'm going to personally miss you, Matthew, and good luck over in West Virginia.
Well, I'm not going to say much except for you'll be missed.
Well, I'll say something. About 7 years ago, Debbie and I were leaving church, and Dr. Paul stops me and says, "You know what you ought to do? You ought to run for the Board of Ed." So I did. But not only, I've said to many people, not only did I lose a person who's helped me a lot as well, as a board member and certainly as president, to navigate everything that needs to be done correctly, but we're also losing our minister in our church. So it's a tremendous loss for the Woods family to lose you. So thank you so much.
I just want to say thank you to my fellow board members. I've enjoyed working with each one of you, some for a short time and others for a bit longer. But I appreciate each one of you, and I can assure everyone that our school system is in good hands. All of these board members are really all about what is best for Garrett County schools and looking to the best interest of our students, and I appreciate that dedication. And we have had a lot of long evenings together, long meetings. I won't miss some of those Tuesday nights. I'll be thinking of you though on those second Tuesdays of the month. But and thanks to all those the public who entrusted me with this, the commissioners who first appointed me, and then all of the various people I've served on. And Barb, it's been, and we could talk about you more, but thank you for the opportunity to serve with you, especially when I was president. I enjoyed working with you and collaborating together. So, I've always tried to do the right thing. Certain times I've probably made mistakes in what we've done and what we voted for. So I ask your forgiveness for those times when I have fallen short. But I also want to just thank most of all the staff and those who daily invest in the lives of our students. And finally, I have to say thanks to my wife. Serving as a board member, especially on these Tuesday nights, it fell Valentine's Day and her birthday this year. Without the support of the family, you can't do it either. So I'm thankful for all of those folks. Thanks.
I will say, though, Melissa said at church the other day, she kind of enjoyed you being gone in the beginning. Then they had a baby. And it wasn't as enjoyable. So enjoy that baby, and certainly again, Bridgeport is extremely lucky. They're getting quite a minister. Okay, we have one last recognition for this evening, and that's a proclamation from the Garrett County Board of Education. Whereas Ms. Barbara L. Baker is retiring after 33 years of service to Garrett County Public Schools, 7 years as superintendent of the Garrett County Public Schools. And whereas it is fitting to pause and reflect in appreciation of Ms. Baker and her dedication and commitment to the Garrett County Public Schools. And whereas Ms. Baker is a longtime educator and has worked as a teacher, principal, director of elementary education, assistant superintendent, and superintendent of schools. And whereas Ms. Baker holds a bachelor's degree in BS in elementary education from Ohio University, a master's degree in education and guidance and counseling, as well as a certification in administration from Frostburg State University, and is currently working towards a doctorate in educational leadership. And whereas Ms. Baker led the district through a global pandemic while also implementing many new initiatives for students and staff, including the work ethic diploma, one-on-one devices for students and staff, Schoology, the Cool Schools Dunk, the Maryland Accelerates partnership with Frostburg State University, implementation of pre-K 3 classrooms, and the successful transition to the Tyler Munis accounting and frontline hiring systems. And whereas Mrs. Baker's work has focused on social emotional learning and providing mental health programs for students, as well as improving the cultural competency of staff and students, student safety with the implementation of the Raptor system, and improving academic opportunities for all students, including no schools identified for improvement and all schools receiving a 4 or 5-star rating. And whereas Mrs. Baker has dedicated her career to the field of education through the many examples of achievements in academics, the arts, and athletics. And now, therefore, let it be resolved by the Garrett County Board of Education that we hereby honor and applaud the many accomplishments and service of Miss Barbara L. Baker and extend best wishes in her retirement from Garrett County Public Schools and in her future endeavors. That being said, I'll certainly let board members and anyone else who may want to say something on behalf of Barb, you certainly have the opportunity now.
Yeah, I would just like to say, Barb, that I really appreciate our time that we worked together. I know we didn't always agree on every issue, but I know we both felt that we had the best interest of our school system at heart. So really appreciate everything you've done for the system.
Yeah, and I would like to say thank you as well. Like I said, as president, I enjoyed those meetings that we had and meeting together, and those times our policy committee and all those kind of things. Sometimes we get into a little fun there, so that was always great. And seeing you root for your Steelers and all that during these years has been good. But we appreciate. I do know that you always did what you thought was best for the students and for the system, and I appreciate that dedication that you've had way back from when you were my German teacher in the middle school. So we go that far. So it's been great to serve alongside you and with you over these years. So thanks. Yeah, good. Yeah,
You were also my German teacher back in the day. Thanks. No, it's useful skills. No, thank you. Thank you for your service to the students of Garrett County and representing the school system with the students in mind always. Thank you.
Barb, you certainly weren't my teacher. I just want to also thank you for your dedicated service to the citizens of Garrett County and to your children that have benefited a lot from your tenure as superintendent. You have a lot to be proud of. I think what really impresses me too is your involvement in the community and the fact that you do Rotary. You're on. I know when I was at the health department, you were always at the LMB meetings and some of the other meetings that we always had. So, and I've really appreciated working with you on the board. You made me feel welcome right from the start. So, thank you very much.
Barb, I've enjoyed the opportunity of working with you. I became board attorney, I think, 1 month before you became superintendent. So we've worked together a lot over 7 years, and I'll miss you, and I wish you a wonderful retirement.
And finally, certainly in my 6 years on the board, Barb and I have had a lot of conversations, many of them late into the evenings on various things. And as I said in our retirement dinner, the one thing that I've admired about Barb is she's a listener. She listens to what you say and she weighs what you say. We don't always agree on the decisions that we make, but I will say I was very fortunate to work with a superintendent who at least listened to what we felt might be the right things as well. And I wish you nothing but the best. I know you're going to love being a grandparent, can spend a lot of time with those kids. And, you have been certainly a wonderful employee for our system in all those things that you've done, Barb. So you deserve the fun that you're about to have.
I would
sorry.
also just like to say two things real quick. Is I just want to mention that she is was principal of Kitzmiller, so we got to
was.
get the Kitzmiller name in
3
there,
years. And
which
I
was a
enjoyed
good
it
thing.
immensely.
And I do too. Wanted to say thank you for listening. I know, especially those late nights during COVID, we had to wrestle through a lot of tough issues, and you were willing to listen to all the board's opinions, and we always tried to weigh the best thing to do. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, I didn't prepare anything because I really didn't think I would be able to speak, but I think I've gotten through. After the standing ovation, I think I've stopped crying. You know, the board members, I have to thank. Matthew was the last remaining board member that hired me, and I am forever grateful. Um, my parents were introduced on a blind date in 1963 by Clint Englander of Englander's Pharmacy. And when I got my teaching job with Garrett County Schools, I was telling him about it, and he said, well, maybe someday you'll be superintendent. And I said, oh my gosh, never in a million years. I didn't aspire to be superintendent. I went back to school and became a principal, enjoyed that immensely, and the elementary director came open, and I was promoted to that, and then assistant superintendent. And I've loved everything. I particularly have really enjoyed working with the board, working to some of the many things, and I thank you so much for the proclamation. I have a wonderful team, my cabinet team, the lead team. I have some of the greatest people you'd ever want to work with. Chuck, phenomenal person. I'll miss you so much. I still have my phone though. If you want to call me on the Lego lesson, I'll be happy to answer. Okay. And I know Matthew thanked his family. My family was all at the retirement dinner, and they know how much I appreciate them. And my time at Kitzmiller did change my life, and I will forever be happy to have been principal there. And I'm going to stop now and I do need to thank every single employee, from custodian to cafeteria to principal to director to teacher to IA and everybody in between, as the best school system and the best teachers. Truly, we have the best teachers and the best staff anyone could ever ask for a superintendent, and I very heartfeltly mean that. So thank you so much for the proclamation. Mark, you'll have to Photoshop this whole thing really well when you go to put it out. Thank you.
Well, we have a couple of gifts for you. Here's a card from us, and of course the proclamation.
Wow.
We have a gift we'd like for you to open.
Okay. Wow. Thank you very much. Not expected at all. They've got it all wrapped up for you. You're gonna have to help me. Honestly. It would be funny if I did. Wow.
If you'll look, there's some engraving on the front of it there. On the bottom.
Oh.
Superintendent Barbara Baker, and that's your ears.
Oh, thank
our
you so
seal.
much. Oh, thank you so much.
Thank everybody.
Thank everybody. That is truly beautiful, and I will always cherish it. Thank you.
All right. It's a wine glass. No, it's not a wine glass.
If I go back, I was gonna say,
If it's a wine glass.
if I go back to Germany, it might be German beer. You never know. Not yet, though.
Yeah, let's get it.
You've seen those German beers. Yes. Here, maybe if you hold this. I'll hold this.
There is something.
stage, so we won't spread it. Karen. Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to scoot on to public comment as we are a little bit past 7 o'clock. There is one person who would like to speak. It's Jess Brown. She wants to talk about pre-K. So, Jess, if you want to come forward, please. Good.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you both, Matthew and Baker, for all of your service for Garrett County Public Schools and for listening to all of us go through the things here on the northern end and listening to the parents. And we really, truly appreciate that. So, I am here talking expressing some concerns with pre-K, as my request is to open a second pre-K classroom at Accident Elementary. Currently, there are 28 pre-K students enrolled that have applied to attend Accident Elementary pre-K, and my child we are registered in the Grantsville area, so we have also requested an out-of-area transfer. So, including my son and another close friend's out-of-area transfer, that would bring us to 30 pre-K students requesting to attend Accident Elementary. It's come to our attention that there are 2 classes at Grantsville, with the merge of Route 40 pre-K being there, and so there are going to be at least 8 students from Accident Elementary being bused from Accident to Grantsville to attend the pre-K there, versus opening a second classroom at Accident. So my concerns from that are that pre-K 3 class has already been held at Accident. 4 of those pre-K 3 students have already been at Accident for a year, will now be transported to Grantsville for next year. So they're going through a whole acclimation change at the age of 4, and then expected to return back to Accident their kindergarten year at the age of 5. So that, to me, is a lot of disruption for our young children, and some of these kids who are already having an hour bus ride to then go to Accident, to then get off at Accident, to get onto another bus to go to Grantsville, and then back from Grantsville to Accident to then drive the way home. So I just ask that we kind of consider and reevaluate our numbers in the classrooms, and if it is possible, to please open a second classroom at Accident for pre-K 4 next year. Thank you.
Thank you. That was our only person who wanted to speak this evening. So we'll move on to continuing business, which is the FY24 Superintendent's proposed budget. This is an action item tonight, and Ms. Schweitzer is the presenter.
Good evening. Good evening. So, as Mr. Woods said, the superintendent's proposed annual operating budget is up for action this evening. The budget development process has been in full swing since October, and since that time, we've gained a lot of stakeholder input, a lot of internal stakeholder input, as well as external. The process has been very different this year because of the blueprint for Maryland's future implementation. On the revenue side, local funding is now recorded as a local share, which is basically a match to the state funds to make up the full per pupil amounts that are detailed in law. On the expense side, there has been a change in the allocation of staff, or the method of allocating staff, to align with weighted student funding and the blueprint requirement of 75% minimum spending following the student to the school level. In addition, Blueprint Pillar 3 requirements call for our school system to cover all dues and fees for dual enrollment tuition and supplies, AP testing fees, and any and all CTE licensing testing fees, and as well as standing up a new apprenticeship program. Changes this budget season that are not blueprint related include inflation of goods and services, the uncertainty of facility utilization and an aging infrastructure. Unfortunately, the continued decline in student enrollment, as well as securing and retaining highly qualified staff across all job classes. This budget is balanced with the use of $500,000 of the board's fund balance, the elimination of $220,000 of transfer to the food service fund, as well as the generous award from the county government to our request of an additional $232,674 above the legal minimum for Garrett County Public Schools in fiscal year 2024. So if there are any questions, I would love to entertain them at this time.
Okay, we were asked to provide questions earlier, and I think there were a number of questions that have already been asked for, already been answered for us. So are there additional questions or new questions any board member might have?
Thank you for giving us the opportunity to comment and answering our questions. So,
Absolutely, anytime.
Anything? Anyone? Okay, do we need a motion to accept? So Superintendent, would you like to make a recommendation?
Yes, I recommend that we approve the superintendent's proposed operating budget for FY 2024.
Okay, Superintendent has requested that we approve the proposed operating budget. Is there a motion as such?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Matthew.
Second.
Seconded by Josh. Discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor of the proposed budget as presented to us signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. And it is approved.
I want to thank you for approving the budget. Even it is, as Rodney said, it's a tremendous amount of work beginning back in October with consulting with the principals, the cabinet, the lead team, and then again with principals, the cabinet, the lead team, and then again to present a budget to you. And we do appreciate your questions and your vote approving it. And it is a result of extremely a lot of hard work. So thank you, Mrs. Schweitzer.
Yes, on behalf of all of us, certainly thank you. The difficulty of the blueprint implementations, along with the pandemic money that's still running out, there is a lot to consider in every portion of the budget. It's we're very fortunate. Please thank your staff for all the time that they put in as well. So it's we're very appreciative.
Well, and we aim to have a collaborative process and as transparent as possible. And it really is, it takes everyone in Garrett County Public Schools to put together a budget like this. So thank you.
Thank you. Our next continuing business is student handbook for 2023-24. It's also an action item tonight. Be presented by Dr. Miller.
Good evening. I'm presenting on behalf of Mr. Hummel, who brought this as the first read last month. We are looking at the student handbook, rights and responsibilities and discipline. It is up for action. I'd be glad to entertain any questions. The main changes included some mental health need, excused absence components that needed to be updated according to the law, and the reportable offense section that needed to be updated according to law.
Superintendent Baker, do you have a recommendation?
Yes, my recommendation is to approve the student handbook revisions for the upcoming 23-24 school year.
The superintendent has recommended we approve the handbook for 23-24. Is there a motion as such?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Matthew.
second.
Second by Rodney. We can now have discussion, questions. Are there any questions or discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor of adopting the student handbook for 23-24 school year signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed, nay. And it is adopted.
That is also some work on Mr. Hummel and Dr. Miller's part as well. So thank you for approving that this evening.
Under new business, we have a budget transfer as an action item, and Ms. Schweitzer will present that as well.
Yes. So this evening, we are requesting the board to entertain our request to approve a budget transfer. It's three-part this evening. Um, it's necessary to transfer $150,000 to pupil transportation. The increase, the variance from budget to actual is a result of a combination of a higher than anticipated transportation cost for non-public transportation, students that are going to schools outside of Garrett County Public Schools, but also the fuel cost was quite high this year. It was over $1 higher than what we anticipated. Normally we have a variance of 50 cents over or under, and unfortunately this past year it was a full dollar higher. So that's the transportation cost. Operations, it is necessary to transfer $50,000 to operations for custodial supplies. This is also as a result of inflationary costs. The same items that we were buying last year at this time are anywhere from 30 to 45 or 55% more than what we had budgeted. And then the third and final budget transfer area is for emergency repairs in the maintenance category. We have 4 different areas in which emergency repairs were required, either because of an inspection that the issue was found, or failure of a system to work. So you can see them outlined there. The Northern Middle HVAC and lift were out of compliance at Northern Middle with the lift. Grantsville HVAC, it's important to note that that's in the Head Start portion of the building. It is not the portion that was just newly renovated. There was expense that was required at the Northern Wastewater Treatment Plant, and we have discussed that on the CIP, and we will be discussing that a little bit more in the future. And then there was HVAC repair required at the central office location. So it is recommended to transfer $240,000 from instructional salaries and $25,000 from pupil services. These positive budget variances are as a result of lapsed salary. We had several mid-year resignations. We also had payroll docs, which is when people aren't paid their payroll for whatever reason, and several positions were temporarily funded by restricted sources, most notably the federal recovery funds. And again, no services to students were jeopardized or affected by this transfer.
Superintendent Baker, do you have a recommendation?
Yes, as Schweitzer's outlined, we approve the budget category.
Superintendent's requested that we make a budget transfer of approximately $240,000 to cover different areas that we're in need of lifting up. Is there a motion as such?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Josh,
Second.
seconded by Jason. Questions, discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the transfer of funds as outlined by Ms. Schweitzer signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. And the transfer is approved.
Much.
Our next item is special education staffing plan. It's an action item as well. This will be presented by Dr. Mangus.
You guys have seen the special education staffing plan that we are proposing for the 23-24 school year. As I have shared with you in the past, this is solely dependent on student needs, what those services look like as outlined in the IEP, the Individualized Education Program, and planned accordingly based on what staff are required to provide those services.
Superintendent Baker, do you have a recommendation?
Yes, I recommend that we approve the special education staffing plan as Dr. Mangus has outlined.
Okay, the superintendent's recommended staffing plan as outlined by Dr. Mangus. Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion by
Approve.
Dr. Paul. Is there a
Second.
second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Glopfelty. Questions, concerns, discussion concerning the staffing plan as presented to us earlier?
Sorry, just one question. How many kids will be assessed over the summer that may not be included in these numbers, roughly? You don't have to know exact.
Generally, our child find numbers are maybe 2 or 3 over the summer. It's very low. A lot of that is because a lot of the referrals come through the school system. So, when students are not in school and an intervention to determine that need, we usually don't have a lot. With that said, our infants and toddlers program is a 12-month program, so we continuously get referrals for that program, as well as through medical providers and so forth. So I would say roughly 3 to 4, 2 to 3 over the summer. It's a low number.
Great, thank you.
Other questions? Hearing none, this motion on the floor to accept the special education staffing plan as presented. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. And the plan is adopted.
Thank you. Thank you. Good job. Thank you.
Next is the Special Education Citizens Advisory Committee update, once again by Dr. Mangus.
Yes. So this is one of the highlights of my position, and that's working with our students and our families and our community in advocacy for individuals with disabilities. So I am sharing with you tonight an annual update of our Special Education Citizens Advisory Committee, also referenced as CCAC. And I want to start by saying that there are 2 other individuals that are highly involved in this entire process, and that's Tracy Brenneman, who is our family support coordinator, and then also Nicole Zanoni, who is one of our parents of a child with a disability who's on contract with our school system to provide that feedback. So CCAC was established in 2003 by the Maryland State Department of Education. The State Department has a Special Education State Advisory Committee, and each local jurisdiction is required to have a local CCAC Advisory Committee. Our local committee has 3 main goals, and that is to advocate for our students with disabilities, to promote community awareness, and to provide a forum for countywide input on supporting students with disabilities in the community as well as school. We notify our community about CCAC meetings through our GCPS website, social media sites, email lists, flyers, radio, newspaper releases, and these events are open to anyone in the community. So we have a very wide range of individuals that attend our CCAC meetings, including parents of children with disabilities, healthcare providers, parents, teachers. It's a very nice range. Over the past 4 years, as on here, we have significantly increased our involvement in CCAC. You can see in 2019, we had an average of 14 participants at those meetings, and last school year we were at 49 as an average. We are going to be at or above that this year. We have one more meeting this summer, but I plan to hopefully exceed that number for this school year's average. We generally do 4 meetings a month. They are quarterly based meetings. And as I shared earlier, it's really to get input from the community about supports for our students with disabilities. You can, correct. Oh, sorry, a year. Thank you for that. Yes, thank you. So on the left, you'll see the meetings that we had this past school year. We have one additional in July. And then on the right-hand side, you will see our CCAC meeting dates tentatively for the coming school year. So one thing that we have done to increase participation in CCAC is to combine that with a family support event. So this past school year, we had one of our events at the Co-Run Corn Maze at the B&O train station. We did a Polar Express theme, and the students were able to watch that movie in the train station. We've also had events at the CARC and at Hickory Environmental Educational Complex. And we really try to make all of those, we have the meeting first, we go through that process, we usually provide a light meal for families, and then we have a fun activity for the students that attend.
During the 23-24 school year, we had a wide range of topics that were addressed at these meetings. One of the things that we always do is to provide the community and parents and staff with updates that are impacting special education in the school setting. So I usually bring topics to those meetings that are kind of our hot topics in the county, and then also any topics that the community or parents would want to address at that time. You can see on there, we had a wide range. A lot of the feedback from the individuals that have attended these committees have either been addressed through cabinet meetings, lead meetings, or through other collaboration with outside agencies or organizations as appropriate. So, for example, we have had discussions about virtual learning day plans and how that impacts students with disabilities. And the community and the parents have questioned, how are we going to support our students during those virtual learning days due to inclement weather? And so we've talked through that process. We've referenced the plan. And we made sure that they know the individuals that they can reach out to if they have concerns in that situation. And then the last slide here is just some additional family support events. So those meetings that we have are specific to the advisory side of special education. But then we try to have at least one event a month in which we're pulling in our families to create an atmosphere of networking and collaboration. And you can see we've done a wide range of supports for our families this year, from the National Autism Conference that we had 4 parents attend in August, to Clark swimming experience, the back to school bash at Deep Creek Fun Zone. We had over 100 participants at that event. We have done therapeutic horseback riding. We have had sensory friendly movies. We've had students that have been in middle school and have attended the movies for the first time in their life. So we've provided a lot of outreach to parents and students. We also had families that attended the Blind Skier Gala this year. And we have a Parents Have Special Needs to luncheon at UNO's in which they can come and collaborate with each other. And then we've also done a 3-part autism training for our parents that have occurred in the evening the past 3 months. So that is a very quick update on our CCAC. I know some of you have attended those events. I have seen several of you there, and I appreciate your support in those. But if anyone has any questions, I'll certainly open it up for that.
Yes, questions by anyone?
I'd like to thank you for everything that group does. I think it's very beneficial to the community.
Thank you.
Saw it in the data and the attendance, but this is an absolute strength for you. You have really taken these events and involving your community and completely embraced it and really have done a nice job.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Mangus, for all that you've done with your department, the leadership that you've given us. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Next business item is FY 23-24 Food and Nutrition Services bid. This is an action item for this evening. Mr. Germain will be the presenter.
I'm here this evening to request your approval for our grocery bid and our bread bid.
Superintendent Baker, do you have a recommendation?
Yes, I recommend we approve both the grocery and the bread as Mr. Germain has presented them.
Okay, Superintendent has recommended we approve the FY 23-24 Food and Nutrition Services bid. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the bids.
Motion by Dr. Paul.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Van Sickle. We can now have questions, comments. Are there any questions? Yeah, we've all looked at the bids before we got here tonight, so if there are no questions, those in favor of accepting the FY 23-24 Food and Nutrition Services bid signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. And the bids are approved. We now have Food and Nutrition Services van purchase. This is also an action item tonight.
I'm here to request your approval for a van purchase. We received a grant from No Kid Hungry to purchase a new van. So I will tell you that the van will actually come in $131 less. Not because of my shrewd negotiating skills,
All
but
right.
because of a dealer fee that they did not need to charge.
Superintendent Baker, do you have a
yes.
recommendation on the purchase
Yes.
of the van?
First, I need to say, as we provided in the memo, Mr. Germain has searched far and wide to find a van that would meet his needs, and we were very lucky to find one, and even cheaper than we anticipated. So my recommendation is absolutely to use the No Kid Hungry grant to support this purchase.
Okay, superintendent's recommending that we purchase a food nutrition services van. Is there a motion as such?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Motion by Mr. Honball,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Gladfeldy. Questions about the van? I know it's been a long process to try to find one. I think we've been working on this for a long time. Finally, we found one. So, are there any questions about the one we're purchasing? Jason, do you have a question?
No, I was just going to comment since we all took a look at this because of the immediate need and a need for action. So to me, it's pretty easy.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, motion on the floor to purchase the food and nutrition services van as recommended by the superintendent. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. And the van is purchased.
Thank you.
We now have an action item, the apprenticeship contract, which may take a little bit of explanation for anyone listening, because this is certainly something totally new to the school system.
Yes, so I'm back again presenting on behalf of Mr. Edwards. And for those who were listening earlier, you understand that we do have to stand up an apprenticeship program based on the blueprint requirements for Maryland's future. And part of the goal of the blueprint law is for us to get to 45% of our graduating seniors to graduate either through an apprenticeship program or industry certified certification. So this is a part of that program, and we have been approved with MSDE to start offering the apprenticeship program for next school year, which is fantastic. And part of that program requires an Apprenticeship Maryland program coordinator. And so Mr. Edwards has been working with Brandon Butler of Pinnacle Strategies Consulting to create a proposal for his firm to provide those services to help Garrett County Public Schools stand up the apprenticeship program as a new program in our county.
Superintendent Baker, do you have a recommendation on the apprenticeship contract?
Yes, you have in your board docs materials a memo indicating why this is a sole source purchase. As Dr. Miller indicated, we are required to put this program into practice. And so my recommendation is that we go with Pinnacle for this contract for the apprenticeship program.
The superintendent's recommending that we approve the apprenticeship contract with Pinnacle Services. Is there a motion as such?
So moved.
So moved by Josh? Jason, I'm sorry. Jason? Second?
Second.
Seconded by Josh. I think in our conversations earlier, this is being paid for by CCR money and Perkins money.
Yes, so a portion of it is being written into the Perkins grant for the CTE programs. Mr. Edwards leads that up. And then the other portion is going to be through the CCR program funding that we're required to spend on certain post-CCR pathways.
Right. Okay. Questions?
Just comments. And Dr. Miller, correct me whenever I summarize this incorrectly for the public, but of course, this position couldn't be taken over by certain members of the central office already, including the director of secondary education. They weren't able to do that. And of course, it's much easier to contract with someone than add another full FTE as far as expense purposes, correct?
Right. Mr. Edwards had asked multiple times with MSDE. The director of CTE is not able to fulfill this role. And also, it cannot be like a school-based person. And so the best route that we felt was to do a contracted service.
Thank you.
Yes.
And just to clarify the meaning of sole source, which I've just been getting in the meantime with our attorney here via email, is that means that this is one of the only firms that we know of that provides this type of service. So that's why it was not competitively bid. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
missed those questions, Dr. Paul.
Yeah. Feature DJ.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, superintendent's recommending that we approve the apprenticeship contract as presented to us this evening. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. And the contract is approved.
Thank you.
Educational Facilities Master Plan. This is a revision. Mr. Wazlowski.
Good evening. This is a first read, actually, for this year's annual Educational Facilities Master Plan as required by the IAC for submission. The information that's been provided to the board was prepared by myself, Mr. Matt Zimmerman, and members of the maintenance staff. And the artwork and formatting and editing, I give credit to Mark and Karen over there for their preparation and getting this all done. A brief summary where we are. I provided a memo, everything in red. There's not a lot of changes this year for an easier read for you to see what we updated. Again, I'm still waiting for data from the county government to update their economic data, permits, housing, those things from Ms. Wigfield. A lot of the text I added has to do with the Grantsville project being completed this year. The facility assessments, we didn't see a lot of change based on our internal assessments by the maintenance team. Grantsville did increase because of the renovations, taking those into account. One thing to point out on our state rated capacity, because of the addition of Grantsville, the additional seats there to go to 380, and then with our decline in enrollment, we actually lost our state rated capacity dipped to 57% across the county. Included the CIP that the board approved, which the state really likes to see. And then they're really big on our enrollment projections, which are required, which are included by the Maryland Department of Planning, which I think you've all seen. So we kind of put all that together to make up this year's 2023-24 Educational Facilities Master Plan for a first read. Okay.
This is a first read. Certainly we can, any questions or concerns that you have gathered from your first reading of it that you'd like to ask Mr. Wazlowski. I did have one thing that I did note on, I think it's page 80, Appendix C, Garrett County Personal Income and Education. It refers back to 2019.
Okay.
I would think somewhere, somehow, someplace we have,
That's what I'm waiting to get updated.
those are the things that the county is going to provide
Yeah, I
to
think
us.
it's A, B, C, and D is
Okay.
what will come from the county.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, some of those are really outdated
Really
numbers.
outdated. Yeah.
Other questions? Anyone? Okay, this is a first reading. It'll be an action item next month. We have a month to look at it and see if there's any other questions we might have. But certainly we do appreciate the fact that you put in red all the changes so we don't have to go through and cross look at last year's book.
Absolutely.
It's very, very helpful to know what the changes are.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Our next order of business is the Northern High School rear parking lot project, which is an action item. Also, Mr. Wazlowski.
Yes, I'm here to ask the board's approval for the bid award to BICO Enterprises for the rear site work prior to the resurfacing for the rear of Northern High School. We had a base bid and an add alternate as described to do the work this summer. We did have a competitive procurement with 2 bids received. This is a local FY23 CIP funding project, and again, recommend to award to BICO Enterprises from Grantsville for both the base bid and the add alternate in the total of $214,300.
Representative Baker, do you have a recommendation?
Yes, I would like to recommend that we award this bid for the rear parking lot at Northern Garrett High School for that parking lot between the 2 schools.
The superintendent is recommending that we award to BICO Enterprises a bid of $214,300 for site work at Northern High School. Is there a motion?
Make a motion that we award the bid to BICO for Northern High School parking lot.
Motion by Jason,
Second.
second by Josh. Questions? Concerns? Hearing none, there's a motion on the floor to adopt the award to Bico Enterprises for $214,300 for site work at Northern High School. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. And the bid is approved. And lastly, Northern Middle School Tennis Courts Resurfacing Project, also an action item. Mr. Wozlowski.
Yeah, I provided a memo in terms of how the original was a program open space for Northern High. We had the failed search, so I kind of provided a memo of how we landed then just to go ahead and take the money that we had already allocated and just go ahead and do the courts at Northern Middle School. So we'll still have 2 new resurfaced courts on that campus until I can find some more money to do a little more work at Northern. We could have resurfaced it, but there was some cracks and some things that it didn't really kind of make sense until we actually fix those prior to the resurfacing. But that's going to require some more funding, which I'll have to work through some future requests. So as Dr. Paul indicated, this is a sole source because of the failed search, and I indicated how we come up with the vendor. This will be done in August of 23 with the program open space money and then our share from the operating budget. But I'm asking tonight for the bid award to Keystone Sports Construction from Pennsylvania in the amount of $43,500.
Superintendent Baker, recommendation.
Yes, I think this work needs to be done, and we do have a plan to continue the work. So I would recommend that we approve the beginning work for the tennis courts at Northern Middle School to this Keystone Sports Construction.
Okay, the superintendent's recommending that we do through Keystone Sports Construction work at Northern Middle School's tennis courts in the amount of $43,500. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Josh. Second by Rodney. Discussion. Hearing none. Is all those in favor of approving the bid to Keystone Sports Construction in the amount of $43,500 for work at Northern Middle School tennis courts, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. And it is approved.
Thank you.
Okay, our last student board member report. Alexis,
Okay.
floor is yours.
Thank you. I don't really have a normal report, but I do want to give some words out to everyone. But to start, I want to congratulate Garrett County Public School students for finishing the school year. And as the school year comes to the end, it's clear that both Southern and Northern High School student councils had a very successful year. Each council planned and executed many fun and successful events for students, including War of the Classes, blood drives, field days, and many other activities. GCSC members also had a great year hosting a hygiene product drive and a number of informational workshops. And both Southern and Northern's class of 2023 had a very successful graduation ceremony on June 3rd. So, as my time as student member of the board comes to an end, I would like to say a few words. First, I would like to thank all the board members for giving me the opportunity to fulfill this position. It has been an honor to sit among these amazing and intelligent individuals and be part of the board. The first meeting I attended was the February 2022 meeting as alternative student member of the board. That day gave me insight on what the position entailed and sparked my desire to be the next student member of the board. Throughout this past year, I've grown my communication, social, leadership, and organization skills that I will take with me as I start the next chapter of my life. This position has improved my public speaking skills and helped me better understand the decision-making process the board members face as they continue to better the students' experience at Garrett County Public Schools. SMOB has provided me with a newfound desire to ensure every student's opinion is voiced, and it has been a great honor and privilege to be the student's voice for the past year, and I'm grateful they supported and believed in me. This experience is one I will take with me as I start my next journey at Washington and Jefferson University in the fall. I plan to major in psychology and neuroscience and continue my interest in student council. After I obtain my bachelor's degree, I would like to continue my education by going to medical school where I intend to pursue a career in neuroscience. While I do not know where I will end up settling down in the future, I do know I would love to be close to Garrett County and continue to follow the county's journey as there are major changes approaching. And it's my honor to pass the position over to Haley Wilderson, who I know will do great things. I know she shares the same passion and care for students in Garrett County as I do, and will do a phenomenal job as the next student member of the board. Good luck to you as you start your next journey. Lastly, I want to say good luck to board members Dr. Paul and Mrs. Baker as they start a new chapter in their lives as well. And it has been a great pleasure working with them, the rest of the board, and anyone else I've worked with during this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexis. Well done and well said. And um, best of luck. You're going to a great school, and I'm sure you will do great things in your life. We have a lot of faith that we're going to be reading a lot about you in the futures to come. And Haley, welcome. Next month will be your first month on the board, and certainly we look forward to your insight as well as to things that perhaps those of us that are slightly older than you. Probably somebody that's slightly older, it wouldn't be me, but that you might lend to us that we're overlooking. So thank you. Now we'll have board member updates. I'll start real quickly. We again, graduation was fantastic. Both schools did an incredibly good job with graduation, and I think everybody was super excited. Huge turnouts for both schools. Really happy about that as well. We had a retirement dinner the other night for our retired employees, and that went very well. Rodney kept us all entertained while we were there, and everything went extremely well. Thank you, Rodney, for the entertainment value. And I did go to the Matthew. Do you have your phone or his? I did go to Southern High School's awards night, and it was extremely nice. Mr. Wolf did a great job of the presentations, moving that along, and a lot of really great awards by those kids. So wonderful things that have happened here in the last month in Garrett County. So I'll pass it on to anybody else.
I also got to attend several events at the end of the year. It seems like there's a lot happening the last 2 weeks of school. So would just like to say I got to attend Accident and Grantsville's both fifth grade graduation, which was very exciting to see those kids get ready to move on to the middle school. Also, Accident Elementary had their Art in the Park, which our art schoolyard, that was a success for families to participate in as well. So just great to see those events and the community come together at the end of the school year.
Quickly, I attended the Northern award ceremony, and as with the Southern award ceremony, I was just impressed with the level of support that the community gives to our students that are graduating from high school. There were some amazing scholarships given out. A lot of money was distributed to those students, and it was really nice to see. I think there was enough awards to make the award ceremony go about 3 hours. So you can imagine. Well, maybe we could get some cushions for the bleachers someday. It's hard.
To attend the white coat ceremony for the biomedical students. Really impressive projects. So if you ever get a chance to go to that, congratulations to all those students. Congratulations to our students this year and our staff and all the staff at the central office for your hard work on another successful year. I'm not sure how you guys do what you do day in and day out. It's something to be proud of. So thank you from us.
Anything else? Others? Okay. We'll now move to the superintendent updates.
Thank you. I just want to reiterate everything everybody just said. That I enjoyed graduation immensely, even though I think I caught a cold. I absolutely love graduation day and enjoy just absolutely enjoy seeing the students and shaking their hands. It's a wonderful day. I do want to just real quick. We are working on something. It is very tentative right now, but we do hear your concerns, and the board is aware that we are working on some solutions. I don't know if we'll be able to make it exactly, but we are trying. So thank you.
We do have a dilemma with our May 2024 board meeting. It will be on the night of a primary election, correct? Dr. Wilson? So, and schools are closed, and so certainly some schools could be used. So we're going to need to move that date. The date is the 14th. The next date would be the 15th. I think May 14th is the date of our scheduled meeting. So the next date would be Wednesday the 15th would be the following date. What's the pleasure of the board? Or we could do the 13th. Either Monday, Wednesday might become a difficult day for our attorney. Both those days look like they're difficult days. So the 13th would be an option as well, Monday. Any suggestions?
Monday's fine.
Good decision tonight. So can we look at this? Can we look at our calendars when we get home?
No, we wouldn't have to make a decision tonight. You don't need it, Mark? For the public's calendar. When do you need that?
Do you?
Don't need it tonight. You could do it in the July meeting. Okay. Yeah,
Let's do it in July.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. We are ratifying employee contracts tonight. Dr. Wilson?
On May 18th, I was notified by the GCEA president, Heather Roth, that GCEA bargaining units had been ratified. This evening, we are asking the members of the board to approve the amendments to the 2022-24 comprehensive agreements.
This is an action item. Superintendent, do you have a recommendation?
I guess it's my last one. I recommend that we approve the contracts as presented by Dr. Wilson.
Okay, the superintendent's asking us to approve the contracts as presented by Dr. Willison previously to us. Is there a motion as such?
So moved.
So moved by Josh.
Go ahead, Matthew.
Second. That was Matthew.
Matthew.
God.
Matthew, you are the second?
I'll second.
Matthew is the second. Discussion about the contracts. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor of ratification of the contracts as presented to us tonight, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. And those contracts are ratified.
Thank
Much like I've thanked many other members of my team this evening, Dr. Wilson leading this endeavor of negotiations is quite an intensive, labor-intensive endeavor, and I want to thank you very much because it's a lot, and you've done a great job with it.
It is a team. We do have a team effort.
It's a team.
And
the
it's my
leader of the
pleasure.
team.
Yeah, on behalf of the board as well, Dr. Wilson, thank you, and thank Ms. Schweitzer and Dr. Miller and our attorney Brandon for being a part of that team. I know it's difficult. We're very appreciative that you bring back to us all the information after every meeting so that we can look at the parameters that we set and see that we do the right things according to the amount of money that Ms. Schweitzer tells us that we have to do those right things. So once again, thank you so much for it.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Well, Superintendent Baker, Board Member Paul.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
And you can't do the second? And who would like to make the second to adjourn? And the second by Mr. Van Sickle. Those in favor of adjourning for public session signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. And we are adjourned.